All right, you're live.
All righty. How y'all doing? Thanks for coming out. Notice is hereby given of a special meeting of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District on January 14th, 2025 at 5 p.m. at the district's office located at 1605 Whitaker Drive, Friendswood, Texas. I'm going to call the meeting to order and I guess have a roll call per our new administrator, Mr. Gibson. Here. Mr. Johnson. Present. Mr. Laurie.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Present.
All righty. Let's give the invocation, please. Lord Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for this gathering. Thank you for our community, all the board members participating, the people in the crowd that have come this evening. Let us just bless you in our actions and our ways each and every day we live here on this earth. In your name I pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I like that page. I like it. I swear sounded like this.
Little bouncing ball.
For citizens' comments, members of the public are invited to give comments at this time lasting no longer than 3 minutes. The comments may be general in nature and may address a specific agenda item. And please direct your comments to the entire board. There are sign-up sheets in the back in case somebody has not done so yet. Any public comments whatsoever? Ready? All righty. Number 5. Administrative hearing. This is appeal of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District 11-001, case reference 30 Wilderness Trails. It's an appeal hearing regarding 30 Wilderness Trails from Texas, otherwise described as abstract 83, 128, 2 and 3 E Hopple, A Jackson, tract 3, 38.443 acres. And I believe we have counsel here from.
Enough binders. I apologize.
Well, pick up everything. You sure?
Rusty, you probably should announce the time.
I think we all know what's coming. Oh, the time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to allow for 30 minutes of time to present, 30 minutes of time to for our councils in the districts to present, and then we'll go into closed session.
All right,
So please announce your name and just I appreciate it.
absolutely. I promise I will take way less time than that. My name is Sierra Peritano. I represent Tannis Development Group, LLC, and Lone Star Wilderness Trails Estates, LLC. I'll refer to them as Tannis or my client. I'm not going to say the full name every time. As an initial matter, my clients object to this hearing because proper notice was not afforded by the district or the board. Therefore, the constitutional rights have been violated. The clients did not receive formal notice and they've never received formal notice of this hearing. Therefore, the district has violated the constitutional rights. By happenstance, the lawyers received informal notice last week. Mr. Lipper mentioned the hearing in an email caveat. Ms. Bailey and Mr. Lipper refused to provide information relating to the time and location of this hearing. We asked for that, it was never provided. We had to go search for that information on the website. That is not noticed. By way of further objection, we requested documents from the December 2nd, 2024 hearing before this board, and those documents have never been produced. We have no copies of the exhibits. We have no idea what was shown as that at that hearing, which is another constitutional violation. Finally, we object to this hearing because the district should be able to review the January 2nd temporary injunction hearing transcript. Has the board reviewed that transcript or received a copy of it? Mr. Gibson is shaking his head no for the record. Will the district permit me to cross-examine the board?
I don't know where that comes in the rules.
You're entitled to present evidence supporting your appeal.
Right, so Miss Bailey was able to direct examine members of this board who subsequently voted, so she had the right to examine those members.
This is for you to present evidence, so however you.
I'm presenting evidence through testimony, Mr. Lippert. Do you disagree that testimony is evidence?
So are you a witness? I'm
These
just,
are witnesses.
I'm not,
Mrs. Bailey, excuse me, did Mrs. Bailey examine Mr. Burkett and Mr. Johnson at the original hearing, yes or no?
I think you need to work on your case, so.
No.
Look,
Sir,
look.
please stop. She asked them questions.
let me be.
All right, let
clear.
me be
Hold on,
clear.
let me
Are
be
you,
clear.
no, I'm speaking. I got 30
No.
minutes. You can talk when it's your time.
No, you asked me a question.
And you didn't answer it, so I'm moving on. Are you permitting me, yes or no, to cross-examine the members of this board? Yes or no, sir?
I'm not gonna answer it yes or no. So,
All right, so I'll ask them questions. Miss Bailey, will you permit me to ask them questions? I need an answer.
I'm not answering that question.
Okay. All right, so I have a few exhibits that we will go through. It looks like the board is able to, Ms. Bailey is able to ask you all questions, but I'm not, which does not seem fair. All right, so I have the binder for you guys.
You should have showed up to the original hearing.
We provided, are you gonna speak? If you're gonna,
look.
you're going to wait.
Go for it. I'm
No,
laughing.
if you're, that's fine, laugh. It's a joke. The whole thing is a joke.
but hold on.
I'm speaking.
I'm calling time here for a
We're
second.
not calling
No,
time.
no. You gotta calm down.
I'm fine,
'Cause you're
sir.
a lawyer representing Tanos. You're not a citizen in this county. We're
Sir,
gonna just hold on.
no, you hold on. I have
entitled,
30
you're
minutes.
entitled to,
You're interrupting my 30
I'm
minutes.
entitled to. You're entitled to put on your appeal in accordance with the district's manual. This isn't your.
Sir, I asked for the procedures and you didn't provide them to me.
Well, they're in the manual.
Why didn't you
have
provide them with me?
You got a copy as an exhibit
This is
in
a
the
game
case
to
when
you.
you lost in Galveston County.
This is a
if I
game to you.
recall.
This is a game to you.
It's not going to interrupt. It's not going to cut into your 30 minutes, but I will assure you this isn't a game as far as the board's concerned. Mr. Tanos gave a plan to the old board, submitted that in April, and it was denied. And nobody on the old board that Mr. Gibson and I was a part of thought it was a game when we heard the engineer's pitch for the variances. Nobody thinks it's a game now. We take what we're doing for the citizens of Galveston County, especially in Friendswood, Texas, which is the CNN poster child for flooding and drainage, for safety of citizens, killing them and their personal livelihood, very seriously. All we're doing is upholding the standards and the criteria manual as it has been written for years and not even substantially changed as far as a development of yours since the old board. So no, we don't think it's a game. We take it very seriously and we're just enforcing the rules.
And I respect that. and I
Okay, so
appreciate that.
maybe please move on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I respect
Thank
that. I do wish the board would have provided notice. If it's not a game, there's no reason it shouldn't have hide the ball.
There was notice given of the original hearing by Paige, our counsel, Paige Bailey, and it was received, and y'all had proper notice of the original hearing. Y'all did not show up. I will say, I don't know about this notice. I think it was properly noticed also, but I'm not sure. But I'm quite sure I saw the proper notice of the original hearing when there was a no-show to the hearing. It was done properly through the criteria manual, through the water code regulations.
So
So
if I may,
Let me just say this.
with that,
Please stop
Let me just say
interrupting me.
this.
Please
This
stop
is not a
interrupting me.
debate, what we're having here.
Correct.
Then stop.
She's
interrupting me.
entitled to an appeal. She doesn't know how to do the appeal, obviously, but let's let her have her 30 minutes
okay.
to.
I stopped the time. You're 30 minutes. So I'm not going to cut you off. So please proceed. And I want to make sure you telling the board that it's a joke and our duty. That's not an elected board. That's probably not the best approach.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Lippert.
Okay, Look what goes on with fire and flooding and all over this country. I don't think anybody considers this a joke. I think
I
if
understand
anything,
that.
it needs to be taken very seriously.
I'm taking it
Okay.
seriously. My clients are taking it seriously.
Then let's
To
proceed.
go back to the first point of notice being provided at the December 2nd hearing, my client, Mr. Louis Cano, received that notice. He received the notice and he informed you guys that his father was in the hospital on his deathbed, is my understanding, and he couldn't make the hearing. Despite that, you guys went forward. you know, that date could have been changed.
7 minutes to me prior to the hearing.
And you didn't even see it before the hearing.
Correct.
All right,
7 minutes.
let's
7
move
minutes.
to the.
Maybe 8, 7.5 minutes.
Okay, so now it's gonna be on the record. We were given notice about 7 minutes prior to the meeting. And and believe me, I'm very sensitive towards medical issues, but the attorneys could have been here. But that's noted.
He didn't have counsel yet to be here, so.
Well, that's not my fault either.
Okay, well, do what you want to do. All right, if we opened the book to Exhibit 1 for the July 12th, 2022 interlocal agreement between the City of Friendswood and the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District. Pursuant to the interlocal agreement between the City of Friendswood and the district, the city has authority to approve plans. The city may ask the district to review plans, but is not required to. At the January 2nd, 2025 temporary injunction hearing, the city testified that it chose not to ask the district to review those plans. These stockpiling plans have been reviewed by the city. In fact, the testimony from the January 2nd, 2025 hearing shows that 3 professional engineers testified under oath in front of the judge that the stockpiling plans were approved and no harm would come to the citizens. In retrospect, Mr. Sheridan, the board's engineer, testified that he didn't know one way or the other because he hadn't looked at the plans. If we go to Exhibit 2, so to be abundantly clear, the City of Friendswood has approved this. They too care about their citizens. If we go to Exhibit 2, the April 2nd, 2024 approved clearing and grubbing plans. Between April 2nd, 2024 and December 2nd, 2024, the district hasn't provided any notice, warnings, letters, or evidence of any complaints regarding my client's grubbing and clearing activities. It wasn't until the December 2nd, 2024 hearing that the district decided to do something. Regarding the fines imposed, these fines were imposed just for the existence of the land. There was no evidence presented, or at least it was provided to us, that shows what date the grubbing and clearing occurred. So I might ask, since we were provided the documents from the hearing, what dates did the board review that my client was grubbing and clearing? Was there evidence of specific dates? Otherwise, the fine was imposed daily for just the existence of the land. Does the board have dates? All right, put on the record, the board is refusing to answer the question.
Our attorneys will talk when you're finished. Go ahead.
The evidence at the January 2nd temporary injunction hearing showed that no one has complained of clearing and grubbing. We flip to Exhibit 3. This is the November 12th, 2024 city approved stockpiling plans. The board has now been in possession of these plans, hasn't approved them, hasn't made any comments. Again, the testimony of 3 engineers at the January 2nd temporary injunction hearing was that the stockpiling would not affect the safety or well-being of the residents living around the plot. Regardless, the board chooses not to comment on the plan. Exhibit 5, I have a conflict of interest statute that says the market value, that talks about the conflict of interest that this board has. As you all know, David Johnson's son, Chris Johnson, has an adjacent property that exceeds $2,500. Chris Johnson is in the first degree of consanguinity with board member David Johnson, who publicly stated opposition prior to the December 2nd hearing. No conflict affidavit was filed. Move to the Texas Open Meetings Act violation on Exhibit 5. A review of the district's video of the December 2nd, 2024 hearing shows that the board made a final decision prior to or at executive session in violation of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Then we go to Exhibit 6. This exhibit is important because there was an email shown at the December 2nd hearing. The second paragraph was omitted from this hearing. This is where Louis Tanos asked Mr. Sheridan for any information regarding an ordinance or code or anything else that states specifically the drainage district's authorities to control these activities and the procedure which I am required to follow or comply with the rules and authority. I am happy to follow rules and procedures. I'm unable to locate or confirm any code, ordinance, rule, or procedure, or anyone that can tell me what or where to find one. Mr. Tanos reached out. He asked, the district's engineer. Where's the code? What do I do? What do I need to do? This was on November 14th. Mr. Sheridan didn't respond. Mr. Tinos has tried to make the effort. No response. And I think it's important that the board knows that they made a decision having the second paragraph omitted. Exhibit 7 is a photo taken of the wilderness trail site. The soil is not compacted. It's permeable. One of the reasons the city approved the drainage plan. Go to Exhibit 8. This was received by the district on December 17th. The district also received a check for this review. This is the drainage impact analysis submitted by DWA engineers. We go to Exhibit 10 next. This is the DRC form filed. This addresses the first alleged violation of the district claims. Yeah, but the first violation on the November 18th notice is a pre-development review required and has not occurred to date, but there was a pre-development review and it's right here. Sorry, it's right here in Exhibit 10. So that should take care of the first violation. It was submitted on August 30th, 2023. All right, like everybody could take a look at Exhibit 11. And this goes straight to Mr. Johnson's conflict and failure to remove himself from the situation. You look at the bottom sentence, paragraph 3. This is a transcript from the May 6, 2024 Friendswood City Council meeting. Mr. Johnson, a board member right here today, says, I have a personal stake. My son Chris and Blair built a beautiful house there, and I'd be a liar if I didn't tell you I wouldn't be partial to being against it. Go down to the last paragraph, first sentence. So I come out and say, I wish that y'all would vote against this. Despite these previous comments and clear interest with his son and himself, he did not remove himself from the board meeting. This is not a partial board. Sorry, this is not a non-partial board. All right. Exhibit 12. This is a request for production from Mr. Anderson, who is lead counsel in this case. He asked Mr. Lipper and Mr. Bailey. Neither our client nor counsel has received notice of the hearing being set. If it has, please send the relevant information as to the location and time ASAP. And then I'll skip over that stuff. We go to the last line. If there are any rules or procedures that have been adopted for the hearing, please send those as well. Art. No response. So while Mr. Lipper sits there and chastises me and Ms. Bailey laughs at me, we tried to prepare for this hearing, but they ignored our email. We hope that the board voids the $3 million plus fine, reconsiders it in light of this evidence. I have a few questions. I'm sure they will be answered, but I'd like to get them on the record. Mr. Johnson, were you elected to this board? All right. Are you enjoying looking at your phone while I'm presenting this appeal?
Don't answer that.
Are you aware city council meetings are recorded? Did you speak up against the tourist project?
I'll answer that one. Yeah, I did.
And you spoke in opposition?
Yes.
Did you present evidence the December 2nd, 2020?
No, it's a terrible
No.
deal for the
I'm
city.
sorry, that's what my
TERS
question.
is a terrible deal for the city. That's what I spoke out against.
Okay, and you're,
My son has approved drainage plan, approved by the previous board.
we're not talking about.
He's digging the hole right now.
Okay,
He went through the steps. He followed the rules.
all right, my question.
Sorry about the facts of your case, man.
Okay. Did you present evidence the December 2nd, 2024 hearing?
Yes, I showed him pictures.
So you presented evidence. We weren't provided that evidence after being asked, and you voted on the ultimate decision despite providing evidence. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Well, Mr. Hale's sitting here. Mr. Hale tells me there's water flooding our streets for the first time since we've lived in Applewood.
Have you had an engineer testify to that? Because Mr. Sheridan,
I have eyes. I can see it. My constituents call me.
okay, but nobody's provided any scientific engineering proof that the stockpiling is causing
Yeah,
this.
I think
I'm telling you what the evidence shows.
if we did a plasticity index on that compacted fill, that might answer the question.
Are you a professional engineer?
No,
Okay, well, what? Has the district had an engineer do that indexing? The answer to that's no.
I'd be surprised.
Well, we haven't gotten a copy of that. So the district continues to hide things. You guys keep laughing.
Well, because it's ignorant what you're saying.
Thank
so,
you. I appreciate that comment.
Yeah. I enjoy the humor though.
Well, I'm glad you think this is funny because my client thinks losing money that's
No,
going
I
to be
think
passed.
it's-
I'm not done talking.
I think your performance
I'm
is
not-
entertaining. I don't think it's funny.
I'm not done talking. This is taxpayer dollars that is getting passed on the turn.
When you talk to me, you get to say nasty things, but if I want to respond to you and you throw your arms up that I'm not allowed to talk, it sounds unfair to me.
Because this is my 30 minutes.
Well,
You're
I'm
welcome to talk in your
don't
30 minutes.
ask me a question or say something snotty to me if you think I'm not going to respond. I mean, I'm your elder.
Have you discussed with your son filing a lawsuit against the city?
My son filed a lawsuit against the city.
And did you discuss that with him?
No. Y'all pretty much pissed him off on your own.
Do you have any personal animosity to Mr. Tanos?
I don't even know the man.
So you never expressed that animosity to anybody?
I think he's got a sweetheart deal from the city. I think I've told people that. I think any developer would love to have that deal.
This is the notice of violation prepared on November 18th. Did you take part in preparing that notice at all?
So if I may interrupt for a moment, traditionally, when someone speaks to us from the lectern, we listen, we don't respond, we do not interact. If we deliberate, if we discuss, that is done in executive session, then we return with our findings. So we're not being deposed. So it's my understanding that we're here to listen to your case. And then we are to deliberate on those merits and make a decision. But we're not here to be deposed.
That's right. Here, let me
I don't know if this was framed.
let me just read the manual so we know what the rules are.
I appreciate that.
It
The email
says
I asked for
If
last
there
week.
were,
So
it's
it's on our
it's
website.
published on the website.
So it would have been very easy for you to send and say,
We gave you a copy in court last week as an exhibit.
again, a
It says-
one-line email is all
It
I asked
says
for.
in the published manual for all of the citizens. If a request for appellate review was made, the respondent may appear before the district through an attorney or an officer, director, or managing partner to present evidence as to the allegation that the provisions of the district criteria manual have been violated and to offer witnesses, documents, and evidence on the subject. Doesn't say anything about cross-examining.
These are my witnesses who I'm calling here today, who are present, who Miss Bailey got to direct. All right.
They're not in court.
For
That's
ease of
not what this
reference,
body does.
I also included the language in the district manual on the public hearing notice, which was posted in accordance with Open Meetings Act.
Was it sent to council? Did you ever email me or Art Anderson the notice?
It was posted on the website and on our board in accordance with Open Meetings Act.
So you expected me to check the website every day, even though you have my email, you've been on many emails with me, but y'all couldn't just send it to me. You couldn't just send me the notice.
Don't answer it.
They couldn't send me the notice because it's a game. All right, well, if nobody's gonna answer questions, and if that is the board's position that I am not permitted to ask questions, then I will
No, feel free to ask me questions. I like your questions. Feel free to ask me questions. But there's gonna be latitude in our give and take. But because we're not in court, we litigated this in a state court in Galveston County very thoroughly in a public hearing that everybody was welcome to see. And you can read the transcript from the city manager and the city engineer on the stand, being in the room with y'all, working against the citizens. We have all that. It's a transcript. It's a file that happened in court, and we litigated this. We have a district engineer, and y'all have engineers that y'all probably have hired, and they might disagree, but there's dual jurisdiction of flooding and drainage as outlined in our criteria manual for the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District and the city of Friendswood. There's a mom and a dad here, and they're equal in their enforcement. Maybe there might be a little more stick to us, to be honest with you. However, there are 14 areas that are just like everything else that are online, ready, accessible by very smart attorneys and very smart engineers. And when you go and develop in a separate area, whether it's down there in Drainage District 2, up there in the Consolidated, in BDD 4, you go and you read the rules and the regulations of their criteria manual. So when you submit your plans, you know what's going on. And when they came to us, or when they do this pre-development reviews, I notice you saying that all the things they did with the city, that's great. Did they do the things in our criteria manual with the drainage district that, I'll say again, has dual jurisdiction in this area for drainage and flooding, which is highly dangerous to people's lives and their personal property? The answer is no. The answer is no. And they came in May knowing they had to do that. And then they went Nello. And believe me, there was a bunch of communication with them that was ignored. And they can pin it all on the city and give them bad advice from the engineers. But we're sitting right here. We're really easy to find. I'm very, very public and forward facing.
Can you,
So I don't want to hear any of this. We're hiding out. I'm not taking this serious. Do I look serious?
you have been very
Yeah,
respectful.
I don't look like I'm laughing
No,
because I'm gonna tell you something.
I agree.
Nobody's laughing around this country when tragedy hits.
I agree. You have been very respectful and
Okay.
professional, and I appreciate it. The board has been very respectful and professional. I was gonna ask Mr. Sheridan, but is it Burkett or Burkett?
Burkett.
Burkett.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that.
Can't get you if you don't.
That's right.
Can you point to a specific provision in the criteria manual regarding stockpiling as a standalone permit?
Do you want to ask Mr. Sheridan these questions? He's been asked on the stand down in Galveston County, but you can ask him again.
I was there for that hearing.
Okay, well,
So we're not relitigating.
we don't have to relitigate this, but
We establish precedents through the rule
Okay.
that construction activities are clearly include stockpiling. That was exactly what the judge said.
do you remember what the judge said when the judge said, hey, that he went back and forth, said, Mr. Sheridan, do you work for the city of Friendswood?
Wait, I'm sorry,
Mr. Hill, the transcript, we'll read it. When the judge
Do
asked,
you have the transcript?
I was sitting there, I'll tell you,
So I didn't realize.
I'm very
that was my
confident.
question.
But I'm paraphrasing. The judge asked who worked for who, and he recognized that there's different opinions for different engineers from different institutions. And it doesn't mean that one's right and one's wrong, but in his estimation, he saw clear 6,000 plus dump trucks and 58,000 cubic feet of dirt, temporary roads, excavators, bulldozers, sheep's head rollers. When you play Tonka trucks when you're a kid, that's construction. And we litigated this, so.
And I won't get back into the
Thank you.
litigation. I believe
Okay,
Mr. Sheridan testified that he didn't know one way or the other that this activity would cause harm, but again, it's neither here nor there. All right, Mr. Burkett, did you produce any, I knew that was gonna
that's
happen.
okay.
I knew
It sounds cooler with Burkett, but it's not, it's Burkett.
Well, I was saying Burkett until I asked you, and then my brain burned. Did you present any evidence at the December 2nd, 2024 hearing?
I did not. I was asked questions, I believe a couple of questions, and it's on video.
Right.
But did I present any evidence that I had? No, I do not believe I did. Oh, no. I had some pictures. Of the site from off the left wing of my airplane. And I have hundreds of them.
That you took on your iPhone?
That's correct.
Well, that's impressive.
It's not, it's really not that hard. It's easy to drive the
iPhone
freeway,
online.
but
Yes.
I have an autopilot, a good one.
Okay, so you presented those photos and then you also answered Ms. Bailey's questions in the form of testimony. Is that correct?
I believe so, and it should be on video.
It is.
Okay.
Right. And after doing so, did you also vote that day?
We had to, the board does have to vote to impose fines and penalties.
Did you
Correct.
personally have a vote? throughout the-
Oh, yes, I vote.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
great. That is my presentation. I greatly appreciate the board being respectful and professional. I know you guys take your jobs very seriously. And I appreciate taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Yes, ma'am.
I know it's not court, but may I be excused, Mr. Lipper? I'll take it down.
So,
Did you want to?
Mr. Lipper, you have 30 minutes.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Ms. Peritano is a lawyer at a law firm called Winstead. Her boss, Arthur Armstrong, has been involved in this case.
Anderson.
Excuse me, you're right. Arthur Anderson has been involved in this case since its inception. We had a temporary restraining order that was issued by Judge Jeff Jones the middle Friday in December. Texas law requires a temporary injunction hearing to happen within 14 days. We set that temporary injunction hearing 13 days after he issued the order on January 2nd, 2025. This year, we showed up at the hearing. A full record and transcript was made. Ms. Peritano was there. Arthur Anderson was there. Their local counsel, Robert Booth, was there. Judge Jeff Jones was there. All of their witnesses were called. Engineers for both sides were called. City of Friendswood witnesses were called. At the conclusion of the hearing, which lasted from roughly 10 a.m. sometime to about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody testified under oath. Judge Jones took all of the evidence under advisement, all of the exhibits, including all these exhibits that have been offered to back today, were all considered by Judge Jones when he issued his ruling, finding that there was irreparable harm to the citizens of this district, that Mr. Tanos had not followed our design criteria manual, that we are required by state law to enforce our design criteria manual, and that our design criteria manual controls construction activities within the jurisdiction of this district. We showed Judge Jones our Galveston County Consolidated District Manual, the same one we've quoted from because it was made an exhibit in the hearing, which recites our jurisdiction and follows state law. Judge Jones issued his ruling granting the injunction, and on last Friday evening, Mr. Tanos has exercised his rights to appeal that to the Court of Appeals, but it is the standing order. They did not bond it or try and avoid the import of the order. So the injunction stays in place for the citizens of this district until the Court of Appeals rules. Now, this issue that's been raised about Mr. Johnson would have to arise, if at all, under Local Government Code Section 171.004, which merely requires abstention. However, you only have to abstain if you have an interest in the business entity in the action on the matter, which would be if Mr. Johnson owned part of Mr. Tanos's development or Wilderness Trails, then he would have to abstain from voting. That's clause 1. Clause 2 is in the case of an interest in the real property, that it's reasonably foreseeable that he would have an effect on the real property. The problem is he doesn't own any real property that is within this consideration, because this is the Wilderness Trails development. The fact his son lives adjacent is not something that is covered by the government code. So we just dealt with that. The last thing that I've heard today was this issue about the interlocal agreement. Council's misreading the interlocal agreement. What it says is, while the city may review plans, it says the opposite for this board, which is it says we shall do it. And that's that actual language in the interlocal agreement is the city may essentially not do it. It's their discretion. But the provision goes on further to say shall. This board shall review it. This board has been reviewing it. Some of the other arguments were made by council, which is trying to make me out to be some sort of bully, is that we haven't provided them documents despite their request. But if the record was fully complete, what she would also tell all of the citizens in this room is that when they made their request for the documents 3 days ago, we responded and said, number one, will you tell me what rule requires the production of these materials? No response. And number two, can you tell me what you need that you don't already have, which is every document that this board has used for consideration has already been produced, marked as exhibits and admitted before the Galveston County Court. And we gave them binders pre-marked with all of these materials. So I was curious about that. And then they asked for the transcript of our hearing. And I told them that it was recorded on YouTube and available on YouTube and sent them a link to it. So to be honest, I didn't understand how they asked for it, but we didn't have anything else to provide them. And so her arguments that we didn't give them anything, I think, ring hollow. The next thing was they have submitted some plans, and from what I understand is in accordance with ordinary district procedure, the plans which were submitted on December 18th, 2024. Mr. Sheridan's reviewing their drainage impact analysis as he's supposed to do. Till he finishes review, what the design criteria manual says is we don't go further until we finish the drainage impact analysis. Now, Mr. Tanis's counsel says if you bring 6,300 dump trucks and dump them at 30 wilderness trails, that it's not only going to not cause a drainage problem, it's going to improve everybody's drainage problem because he testified it'll be like a big sponge that will absorb all of the water on 30 wilderness trails. And I don't think we believe that. But maybe some magic science will prove it. But that's what Mr. Sheridan is working on, is to figure out the science behind 6,330 dump trucks of soil coming from Harris County to Galveston County and dumping it on that property. And I can tell you that we may not see the evidence the way they do, but we are obligated and we shall review the plans, which is what Mr. Sheridan's doing. And the last thing is that all of these things, it's highly unusual that myself as an attorney is sitting here making this, appeal to this board when we're really skilled at going to the courthouse and dealing with courts and law, which, by the way, is where this heads, is the next stage after this appeal. And I have a suspicion that that's where Mr. Tanis is going to take us. I think I have raised everything that I think is important for y'all. If anybody's got any questions for me, if not, I'll just sit down.
No question. Where is all this money coming from on the developer side litigating in this court case?
Well, I mean, he's probably in the TERS, be my guess. Good. It's hard for me to know for sure. Maybe using his own capital, but he certainly showed up with a large team at the courthouse. He brought a lawyer in from Dallas. So, and another lawyer from Galveston, and she comes from Houston. So that's all I know.
How often are these restraining orders gone up to the appellate level and overturned? You have your professional percentage opinion.
Very rarely are they overturned, and especially in this case, some temporary injunctions are done real quickly without adequate preparation. And everybody says if I had had a few more days, I would have come up with this great witness or this new evidence. This was very heavily litigated. They called 4 witnesses. They subpoenaed half of this board to be there. All the evidence got there, and the legal question for the Court of Appeals is, did Judge Jeff Jones abuse his discretion by making the findings that he had, which was, we are suffering irreparable harm. We're responsible for reviewing construction activities. These are construction activities in our jurisdiction, that there is a substantial likelihood that we'll be successful in this matter. That's one of the things that he does. And then that unless he grants the temporary injunction, harm will befall us that we can't fix. And there was clear harm that the judge found, and he did not abuse his discretion.
Mr. Lipper, by statute, are we allowed to recover our attorney's fees here for the citizens of Galveston County at
Yes.
exclusion?
It's posted in the water code as well as in our design criteria manual. We're entitled to recover our fees.
Yeah, one last question. So is there a chance, what you're saying, is there a chance that the citizens of Friendswood that reside in that terrace could ultimately be responsible for the development costs of these litigations?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
That's a pretty big safety net.
Yes. Yes. So,
You have any questions for Mr. Lipper? Thank you. Appreciate it.
and the only thing that I would say is you all should take notice of your previous judgment in this matter.
Yes, sir.
Will do.
I do, if the board would allow me. I'm not sure if I can get another minute or two.
I don't think so. Procedurally, this is what the rules require.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, but procedurally, I'm just going to stick to the letter law on the hearing. I'm sure that we'll hear much more from this in the future, but I do appreciate you coming and present your case. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay, at this time, we are going to, I'm going to ask for any board comments, starting with Mr. Gibson, working my way down before we head into closed session.
No comment.
Mr. Johnson.
I'm a rule follower. And I think pretty much everybody that knows me really knows me. If my son was to come in here and ask me, this board, with me a member, to either approve a variance or approve a permit, I would recuse myself. And so I have to say that, especially in my line of work, I've been a real follower forever. I'm a little insulted at the inference. And also the inference that this is a game. You know, I took an oath. Judge Cox stood right there and swore me in, and I take that oath seriously. And I think it's interesting that Ms. Cheney's not here. She was in court. She's also one of the people from Applewood who contacted me about the flooding issue that they had. And I don't think it takes, I'm not a professional engineer. I grew up in that business. My dad had a company, a big company, I sold civil engineering for Brown and Root for a couple of years. So I know a little bit about it. Compaction is construction, number one. And when you put 27 inches of fill in, water's going to run off of it. And I don't think you have to be an engineer to see the video and the pictures of that happening before the fill was even put in there. So water runs downhill. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Ms. George.
I'm gonna go back to Beryl. We had 8 to 10 inches of rain. And y'all's streets were flooded. That's runoff. Where you've never had water like that before. I don't know how, I don't have an engineering degree, but you can definitely see where water's standing. And then we had the city telling us too that the creeks weren't out of their banks. Everything was good. 8 to 10 inches of rain. And the creeks were overflowing. So That's it. I've got to tell it how it is because that's the way. Y'all are we're gonna flood. This is gonna be disastrous for this city and for our citizens. It will be. That's it.
Mr. Jones.
Everyone here is a familiar face, so I'm preaching to the choir, but I hate that this came to sides because it never should have. I feel that everything we do in good faith. We do out in the open. We haven't snuck any changes by. The criteria manual is available to everyone. I feel that we act in good faith. And I do feel that now there is another side, and I do not believe that everyone as an actor there has conducted themselves in good faith. If this is the first step towards that, then great. But there's nothing covert. There's nothing mysterious. We're here every month. I'm at the grocery store. I get text messages and phone calls and instant messengers with constituents all the time. So to think that we've hit anything or haven't conducted ourselves above board is nonsensical. So that's it.
Forward recess in a closed session is authorized by Title V, Chapter 551, Government Code, Texas Openings Act, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding a matter which the duty of the attorney under Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the state law of Texas conflicts with the Open Meetings Act or be pending or contemplated litigation. And we will return after closed session.
Board President, would you mind bringing out the time allowed?
Give it, let's 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes.
Oh, but the time current is
It's 5:44.
5:44. Thank you.
And we'll return here in approximately 10 minutes, let's say.
Thank you so much. Great.
Are they in Houston? Okay.
All right, I'm going to bring it back to the live session here. Are we live, Scott? Are we on?
Yes.
Okay.
I move that the board of directors vote to affirm the decision for December the 2nd, 2024.
A second.
Second.
Any conversation on that additional? You like to have? Gibson?
No.
Mr. Johnson? Okay, all those in favor of affirming the December 2nd, 2024 decision, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? In closing, Mr. Peritano, thank you for visiting us. You are welcome anytime. Thank you, Mr. Lipper and Scott, Paige, our staff. Thank you to the board. I appreciate it very much. And thank you for the citizens for showing up. We do take what we do here very seriously. My representation of the citizens and the integrity that I want to maintain is, I don't know, it feels like it's a real big obligation, even more so than my regular jobs in life, kind of like parenting or something. And we're not always right in what we do. We're not, we move along and we correct ourselves, but I'm very proud of this board and how much they care about this area that has been so devastated by flooding and drainage. And I'm always willing to listen honestly and openly to any concerns. I'm very fiscally conservative, but I love involvement and I love interaction with the citizens and ideas. And we're going to move along here. And I'm sure we had heard the last of this, but thank you all for coming. And we'll have a regular meeting that'll start here shortly in we'll call it in 5 minutes.
Mr. Burkett, is there a document, or will you guys issue an affirmation?
We'll send you.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Please email it to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And this special meeting is closed. Thank you.
Man, did you want these back?
Nah, y'all can
You sure?
take the binders. They're expensive. They have like $5 now. Yes, thank you.
Here you go.
All right. Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District on January 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m., 6:10 p.m. at the district's office located at 1605 Whitaker Drive, Friendwood, Texas. Again, I'm going to call the meeting to order and thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Y'all sticking around. Want to get the invocation again? Y'all weren't here. We get the invocation again. We'll roll through it again.
That's in that letter. Oh, Jesus. Jesus, please give us the guidance and the backbone to continue to protect this place from flooding. And please look after our citizens and our families. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, citizens' comments. I request that the comments be relegated to 5 minutes or less per person. And we have sign-up sheets in the back in case anybody else would like to sign up. Don, I'll let you go last. Mrs. Hill,
Never mind, everything was said.
you sure?
Yes.
You want to
I'm
grab this?
fine, I'm
Just talk
fine.
a little bit?
It's
We got city people here too. You can talk to them.
Happy birthday.
It's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
By decree of the board.
She's gonna.
Okay, I want to say this last name right. John,
I was just signing in. I didn't.
you sure?
That was for, you know,
No, nothing.
You have to talk now.
What? Say your last name for me, right?
E. Barbo.
E. Barber.
Oh,
Okay.
Barber.
I just want to make sure I'm reading. I want to make sure I'm reading it right, Mr. Barber. Okay. Nothing? Mr. Johnson,
Well,
podium.
I'll defer for tonight unless there's some topic y'all would like me to opine on.
We're good.
No, Mr. Hill saying no. So, looks like no. You could probably filibuster for 5 minutes if you had to, couldn't you?
Oh, I can always speak for 5 minutes.
Gibson said easy. You're over here. He said easy.
Did I speak on him speaking since you brought it up?
No. I saw you waved it off. Okay, let's go to number 5, presentations. A overview of the Forest of Friendswood project presented by the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District staff.
So I'm going to give an overview and Scott's going to jump in because he probably knows more about this project than I do. So this is the location of the Forest of Friendswood project site. There's an existing detention pond. You can actually see it on the right upper northeast portion. The existing site is about 129.85 acre feet, and the extension project would extend southwest, and it would include approximately 59.6 acre feet, so that the total capacity would come to 190 acre feet. Right now, this project, we are doing a jurisdictional review with the Army Corps. It was submitted in June, and at that time, we were told that it would probably be realistically almost a year before we heard back. Could be sooner, but that was kind of where the timeline that they gave us. You can switch to the next slide. So we, at this point, we've done plans. Scott did the plans. There has not been an H&H study, so we don't know necessarily if this would affect the water surface elevation during floods within the river, or if it would provide benefit more on a street level. For comparison's sake, the Forest Bend detention pond that was just constructed in Friendswood was about 53 acre feet of offline detention, and it provided about 0.01 feet of reduction during a 100-year storm. So in all likelihood, the benefit from this project in terms of the larger picture is probably, my thought is that it would be probably pretty small if we went in and looked at an H&H study. The property is owned by the HOA, but we currently maintain it, so we would likely continue maintaining it if we extended the project. So while we're waiting for it to go through jurisdictional wetland determination, and an alternative is that we could go and put in an individual permit with the Corps. That would move faster, but we were told from our environmental consultant that that would cost $100,000 to $200,000 for a separate individual permit.
That's the wetland mitigation. We're basically
Oh, that's
saying,
for the wetland mitigation.
that's basically saying that the wetlands that are there are jurisdictional
And just
and yeah, and been paying for it, which at the time the board didn't want to go that route, right?
So Joseph provided a cost estimate for construction that he put together in 2011. 2011. The cost for construction was estimated around $11 million. Well, that's been a while. So I just off the top of my head, looking at inflation, my guess is that we're looking at least 15 million to do the extension project. It could be more, but we wouldn't really know that until we did a construction level cost estimate. And so that's Jim had asked for an update on this project at the last meeting, and I don't really have much more. Do you have any questions?
So some background on this portion of the Forest Pond. They revamped it and brought it to the district's code back in about 2018-ish. And then they paid the per acre fee for the district to take over the maintenance. And I think Joseph has coordinated with them to obtain the right to expand that pond. Right, and the plans would be not just the pond expansion, but regrading the bottom of the existing pond to flow back to the south, and we would install a new outfall because the outfall pipe has now started to fail, the existing one. So there's kind of twofold: get more additional volume, revamp that outfall pipe. We ran into the wetlands issue. Consultant feels for sure that they're not jurisdictional, but with the new Supreme Court ruling last year, the Corps has been slow to react to that, and this was the way to kind of push them to tell us yes or no, in the cheapest route.
Yeah, so I know you wanted to be informed about the project, and right now we're just waiting on the jurisdictional determination to come back. But if you want us to reach out to the Corps and see if there's any way to move that process forward, I think we're already planning on going back down there to talk with them about some other things so we can check into it. My personal opinion is that this, unless we tried to look at it in more of a street level project where we were helping the neighborhood, I don't think that this project for the cost is necessarily worth doing the project when you're looking at a riverine standpoint. And now it could be if we went in and did an H&H analysis using a 2D model, looking localized in that area, there might be like 5 or 6 homes that are no longer flooding with that, 0.01 foot reduction. But
I have a little problem with the cost estimate, especially $15 million.
15?
Is that not what you said?
15? 1.5? Yeah.
Because FM 1959 is estimated now at 19, and that gets 780 acre feet. I think the 15 may be a little high.
Well, we can look at it again. I was just basing that off of the 2011 pricing of $11 million because we've seen about 40% inflation.
And I guess for the new board members, as we approach these projects and see the benefit, they're going to be surprised at how little the projects realize, like 0.01 foot is not very much. If we get a project that's 0.1 foot, that's probably a good project.
Yeah, the Imperial Estates, for instance, when we looked at that one, it was about a 0.2 foot reduction for a 100-year storm, and that was 700 750 acre feet of inline detention.
So to understand that, you got to look at the drainage area for Clear Creek. It's massive, right? So even though these are fairly big volumes, they're just a drop in the bucket as a whole. So it's a lot of work to make a little bit of a reduction in water surface elevation.
My recommendation, and Paige has been supportive of this as well, is that we look at putting in a grant application for a master drainage plan for our district that would specifically go through and look at projects that we would be interested in looking land acquisition that would be best for our district. Try to identify maybe 10 to 15 projects and then look at the benefit versus cost of those projects to help us form a plan of how we want to invest our funds moving forward. And then of course, we're working on partnerships and always looking for larger regional projects because those are what's really going to make a difference.
Probably there's another way to look at it, and that's to look at the 4 projects that potentially we have. Timber Creek, Clearview, Deepwood, and Frenchman Creek. And those total up to approximately 32 acres. So we may get a significant more impact looking at the combined 4 versus just 1.
So micro projects to aid the macro, but ignore the high cost benefit analysis, kind of.
Yeah,
I mean, is what you're saying. I get it.
If we really want to understand the benefit, we probably need to have an H&H study done.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think the main thing is I'll comment on it later, but we had a big meeting this morning with two county commissioners, and we talked about a lot of this stuff. So I'll report on that later in the board director's report, talking about what Jim and Jason both commented on and how the combination of projects cumulatively might be the way to go. It's just studying those projects, allocating the money and the funding to get there. And that's where procurement in Samantha's area, at least with the matching grant procurement, is important to be responsible to the citizens and evaluating the stuff. So anyway, thank y'all for that. Thank you, Samantha and Scott. Discussion.
As far as path forward, I agree with y'all's concept to try to get a grant.
Okay, number 6, discussion action items. A, approve or deny the final plat for Friendswood Trails, section 3A and 4A, development of a 30.125 acre tract of land. Plat meets this requirements and a letter of no objection has been submitted from the city of Friendswood. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Discussion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. B, approve or deny the final plat of Royal Park, Friendswood 3, development of 1.9850 tract of land. The plat meets district requirements according to our district engineer, and a letter of no objection has been submitted by the city of Friendswood. Motion to discuss or approve?
Motion to approve, if there's no need to discuss. Second.
David second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Show it's unanimous. C, approve or deny the final plat Friendswood Trails, section 4B and 5A. Is development of a 29.964 acre tract of land. The plat meets the district's requirements and a letter of no objection has been submitted from the city of Friendswood. The district has previously approved a variance in 2021 concerning a blanket drainage easement. I want a motion here. I want to make a motion to discuss.
Second.
Scott, why don't you explain what was approved in 2021?
Sure. So Chicken Creek bypass travels down through here and hits Chicken Creek right here. And, instead of giving us a separate drainage right away through there and dividing their property, right, they would have to take their water basically underneath the Chicken Creek bypass and into their detention pond. They approached the board to basically outfall the Chicken Creek bypass in their detention structure and then through their outfall structure in Cherry Creek. So that's what the blanket easement is. It's over their detention reserve. Let's see if I can get a better view here. No. Yeah, you'd see the This is their detention reserve. Okay, the bypass naturally comes down through here and outfalls in Chick Creek. It's basically gonna be diverted to their outfall structure now. And through their park. So that's all been approved. Their construction plan's been approved, but the final plat isn't approved until the city accepts the infrastructure. So that's the part we're at. Just bring y'all up to speed on it, let y'all understand that that's the case here. So it's approved by the previous board. The variance that is.
Questions, Jim?
No.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bravo. D, approve or deny the final plat for Magnolia Bayou Phase 3, development of 10.484 acre tract of land. The plat meets the district requirements and a letter of no objection has been submitted from the city of League City. We have a motion to discuss.
Motion.
Second. Any questions on this for Scott? Scott, do you have anything to add on this one?
Just their expansion going on down to 517, right? So you can see by the city map here, kind of gives an overview. They're just connecting the dots.
Jason, anything? Ken?
On this question.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? E, approve or deny a variance request for the City of League City sewer plant detention, legacy offsite drainage improvements. City of League City requesting 20-foot shared maintenance firm for the detention pond expansion of the sewer treatment plant. We are going to make a motion to strike this from the agenda as per requested from the City of League City. So I'll make a motion to strike it.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion and consideration for approval, an RFP for depository services for a 5-year term. We will provide a newspaper publication notice, 2 of those, according to process. A due date, approximately 60 days from the RFP posting. City staff, district staff, city, district staff to make recommendation, you're laughing at that, David, to the board of directors at the regular meeting. Also, there'll be an effective date of the contracts. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second. Any questions for Paige on what this RFP will consist of?
Just following the law, right?
Absolutely. We need to properly procure depository services. The most recent depository was not, my understanding, done through RFP process. We are moving our funds due to a current litigation incident, and so we are going out for RFP for depository services.
That's supposed to go out every 5 years.
And Paige, we're talking about an operating account, correct?
Operating account, payroll account, this is where we will be moving towards newer technology, including ways to secure our checks. We do send out checks to vendors approximately twice a month in big batches. We don't currently use services such as PayPerfect, and so we're looking to do higher security measures for all of our banking. And so we're exploring every option available.
And you will provide a full report and a recommendation to the board at the time that these RFPs come back, or at least temporarily how we're going to go about it until the RFP is fully understood by the board and understood by you. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Now, the contract will be on the agenda.
When do you expect to have that?
So technically next month, you're going to see a agenda item for depository agreements for Amity Bank. The reason for that is because we have had a security incident involving our current banking. So for the time being, due to a breach of fraud, we are moving our accounts immediately to Amity. And those depository agreements are being worked on. For the longer term, 5-year term, we are going to go out for RFP for that. And so we might be moving our accounts twice in 1 year, but for good reason.
The RFP requirements are a minimum of 3 respondents. That's the only thing that would delay it. Is it?
We could get 1 and that'd be fine. I mean, it's competitively bid.
So we could get 1, we could get 10.
We can get 1, we can get 10.
Something
There
like
are there are limits about, the respondents have to be within a certain radius of the district. They have to have, gosh, the RFP we've been working on is about 18 pages of requirements and what we need from them when they submit to us. And you'll get all of that information, and I'm sure I'll give you charts and a presentation of why I recommend the one we're going with.
Questions for Paige? Additional? All those in favor?
Aye.
G, discussion and consideration for the approval of budget amendments. Have a motion? Second. All right, this Paige, you want to explain what, or one of y'all explain what you want us to consider and discuss for the approval of the budget, how we're moving for and what we're moving it for?
Absolutely. So this item is about really making our budget, where it should be. So there are items 1 through 19 that are just truing up what has been spent with what is on the budget and approved budget that were prepared by Joseph Anderson. Items 20 and 21, and if you look, the account numbers are provided so you can compare them to the budget, which is also in your packet. Those items are travel and training increase amount from 4,000 to 24,000. We've identified additional trainings for leadership, CLE credit, and otherwise for staff within the next year that we would like to accommodate, including conferences for board members. And so that number, I think, is a more accurate representation of what should be in a professional entity such as this, an appropriate budget item for travel and training. Item 21, account 5600, facility maintenance increase from 35,000 to 70,000, the 2024-2025 budget. In my day 7 in my position here, but I have identified needed improvements around the facilities, including there are doors that are rusted out in the back. There are paint that needs to be updated. There's furniture that's over 20 years old that is falling apart. So within the next year, I will be updating the facility to make it that it is an accurate representation of what our district is about, which is public facing, and we're here to properly maintain public investment.
Did you and Joseph go over this extensively before presenting to the board about moving around? We always have a kind of a budget, moving budget around, and things evolve as the year goes by. It's funding that we have, but did you and Joseph extensively go over this and kind of identify the areas that you're talking about with the board that you put in our packet?
Yes, sir.
Was he in agreement on everything? I know he's busy tonight, so I'll get to that later where he's at, but
he helped me estimate what in the facility maintenance would likely be an appropriate number for the painting, the renovation of the facilities out back that are rusted through due to wind and humidity. So this number was a collaborative effort.
Okay, this, just so that people know, this isn't wasting any money or raising tax or anything. This is just moving money around in our budget. Paige, unfortunately, has spent a lot of time here as our general counsel doing work that I wish she wasn't doing. But what's good about that is she's become really familiar with the district. So she's being kind of coy here, even though it's her 7th day on the job full time. She's been here way more than she should have, doing other things, and gotten a really good lay of the land of what's going on here. She also has, along with a law degree, an MBA in administration. So worked for League City, worked for Olson & Olson. I think she even worked at a private law firm for a while. So anyway.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
On the back where you itemize the top, it says 2023, 2024 budget amendments. Is that the correct year?
That is not. That's not.
But that did raise one of the audit items that we had from the last audit. Criticized us for not zeroing out the budget for the prior year. And at first I thought this is what you were doing, was zero out the categories.
It should kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay. Now if we do all these amendments, Does that increase or decrease the 24-25 budget
It would increase it.
by how much?
I don't have that number in front of me, but I can get that to you tomorrow.
Jim, I don't think we're gonna spend all of our budget money this year either. Like we never do, just to be honest with you. We always never spend all our budget money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a, do I think it's gonna increase the money we spend this year? Yes, but is it gonna increase what we need? No.
No, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, these are like, and I'll address it like the things that Joseph, I think, wishes he would have got around to getting done for facility improvements and some of the things that are going on back there for safety purposes, probably stuff that's going to be pointed out here in our next insurance examination anyway, to be honest with you. So I don't think you might look around here. I don't think we're winning any awards for stylistic New York type facilities, but we can do better, and we can surely make sure that doors are secure and safety and the way we're going about security is being done better. And we're after that. So
I would like for you to look at last year's audit and see where we stand this year, if we can fudge the numbers now for last year.
I won't be fudging anything, but Kathy Grace is here and she will be providing an update on the audit as it is going.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Personally thought that was an unnecessary hit we took last year from the audit.
Anything less than perfect on an audit is something to be concerned about.
yeah, they want to make sure they can come back, Jim. They have to find something, they got to say something. Any other questions for Paige? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? H, discussion and consideration for the approval of the hazard mitigation plan, goals and strategies. It's updating from our 2013 records. Do I hear a motion to discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Go ahead, Smith.
This item, the strategy, I identified several goals, and we can do this tonight, or we can call a separate meeting. I put a presentation together that has some slides, but I didn't know if you would want to discuss it tonight, or if you would want to look at having a separate workshop.
How long is your slides?
8 slides.
Shouldn't take long.
8
should it?
seconds.
What are you talking about? 5 minutes?
Okay, yeah, we could at least, yeah, I can.
I don't want to call a separate meeting just for this. I don't think anybody wants a separate meeting for anything, no. So let's do it. That's the size. We're going to go real fast. Maybe real quick.
Well, you have most of those printed out. Yeah. Okay. That's it. So, as you know, I'll just start talking.
Yeah.
So we're updating our hazard mitigation plan. You recently voted that will update that. We need it in order to receive any federal funding or oftentimes state funding. The last time we updated it was in 2013. And so one of the first things that we are needing your input on is our strategy statement. And so the strategy statement identifies different goals, and they're high-level goals. They're not specific. We're action items or what we'll talk about later. But what I'm going to do is I had kind of examples of definitions. You can go down. Okay. Yeah, so goals are broad, long-term outcomes. I'm going to try to fly through this just for the sake of time, but goals are broad, long-term outcomes or objectives, general and overarching. So an example would be reduce the impact of flooding on critical infrastructure. You go to the next one. The 2013 goals, this was the strategy statement. It said the mitigation goals of Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District are the first one to protect public health, safety, and welfare. The second, to reduce losses due to hazards by identifying hazards, minimizing exposure of citizens and property to hazards, and increasing public awareness and involvement. The third one, to facilitate the development, review, and approval process to accommodate growth in a practical way that recognizes existing stormwater and floodplain problems while avoiding creating new problems or worsening existing problems. And then the last one was to seek solutions to existing problems. So this slide is proposed the strategy statement would be that, the Galveston County Consolidated Drainage District proposes, and then these are proposed goals. But basically, we want to have the board's buy-in on what these goals will be. So this is kind of where we started. We pulled the ones from last time. So the first, let me think. I know the first three are repeats. 4, mitigate the risk of flooding through diligent maintenance and enhancement. And then we added that GCCDD seeks to balance environmental stewardship with the critical need for effective drainage solutions. And lastly, that we'll develop and enhance strategic relationships to partner on local and regional scale flood mitigation solutions. So if you are on board with these, I don't know. Do y'all want to discuss?
Yeah, we're going to rewrite, just reword 2 and 3, and quit using the word hazards 3 or 4 times. We can run that through freaking ChatGPT or something, come up with something better than that. We're going to not use the word problems like 4 times. I'm sorry. We're just going to get a little more educated in how we're going to say that. Mitigate the flooding risk due diligence, man. So we're just going to reword them, and y'all can do that or whatever.
Okay, yeah, if there's anything that you notice is missing, we can add that in there. Basically, we want to make sure that, you're in agreement with what we have on here.
So I'm going to make a motion that we reword. I don't have a problem with the goals. I don't have a problem with the goals. I have a problem with how they're said and the way they're verbalized here, and that's really it. So,
okay.
Thank you for getting us there.
Yeah. I appreciate it. My motion is just going to be to move forward with this, but we are going to reword and resubmit to the board next month the exact wording that we're going to use for our mitigation goals in 2025.
Okay. We've also been working on flyers. I would like to mail those out to you to review and get your feedback on them. But I didn't know if that was something that you wanted to work on a workshop. I don't really want to release the flyers to the public because we're not supposed to be sending them out to the public until we get your input on them.
Yeah, just follow up offline.
Okay, that sounds good.
What's the deadline for those flyers?
I don't think there's an exact deadline, but the sooner we do it, the better it is.
February 2nd.
Okay, so I'm going to make the motion to let Samantha keep working on this with the caveat that we have the finalized language, the verbal language submitted to us for next meeting. And so that's really my motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Let's move on. Okay, thanks,
Do we
man.
need to explain anything to the public that's here about why we are having to do this? I mean, we've talked about it before in meetings, but I'm just said that they're clear as to the 2013 one.
Samantha, why don't you explain to the public of why we're updating our hazard mitigation plan? And when you explain it why we need that for procurement of federal money and stuff, and why it's important to have that up to speed and up to date.
Sure. So a hazard mitigation plan for a public agency, it identifies any potential hazards such as a fire or a drought, a flood. And then, so one of the first things we do is identify goals. And then from there, we go more detailed and look at identifying actions, which can be even project specific. So there's a lot of things we've been working on behind the scenes for that. But basically, to receive any federal funding, you have to have a hazard mitigation in plan. And there's some state funding that also, and this is not just for grants we're going out, but for the disaster recovery funding that we're working on through Barrel. We're supposed to have a hazard mitigation plan in place. And it really helps the district to be prepared so that when we are going through a hazard, we have talked about it before and we have actions identified, because some of them will be like emergency response actions. Some of them will be more more mitigation actions. But,
And the current one,
yeah, the current one expired
expired
in
when?
2013, and it's supposed to be updated every 5 years. And also since then, they've recently recommended that jurisdictions take more responsibility within the plan. There are some public agencies around here that participate in a countywide plan. Well, we didn't do that, so we can't use that as a holdover. And so the best and quickest thing we can do is to move forward doing our own. I can't remember the exact amount. It's around $50,000, which is a really good deal for what we're getting.
So once we agree on the language, what is end date stuff?
I believe I think we're about 6 months out from submitting this.
Did you mention before that being in the process is that while it doesn't fully satisfy the requirements, it is looked at so that we can proceed?
Yes, we can. So I think it's grant specific. Some grants, my understanding is it really depends on the reviewers you get. But as long as you're moving forward with it, you can submit. They may mark off a point or two because you don't have it approved yet. But I think that we're on a timeline here where by the time they get to actually awarding the grant, that we would already have it approved.
Thank you for explaining that.
Anything else? All righty. Go to the consent agenda. Approval of the January 14th, 2025 bills. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. I'm gonna just go about one by one. Approval of the December 10th, 2024 minutes. Motion. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the reason is I want y'all to look at, so the holiday schedule, has everybody had a chance to look at the, yes, just the holiday schedule? And if there's any discussion on that? Yeah, nothing.
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I have a motion for the 2025 regular meeting schedule. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Number 8, resolutions and discussions and consideration. A resolution 2025-01. It's a resolution setting the board per diem at 0 per day. I want to modify this and make a motion that we have Paige get us our in-house counsel, get us more information on this per a couple of board members' requests, and put this on the February agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, discussion and reports from staff members. A, update and feedback on the digital and packet distribution.
Excuse me, Rusty. I'll go back.
Yes.
On the resolution you provided us, it had some strange verbiage in there about what is the drainage, water improvement district number 1.
Are we going back to 8?
We have, I just,
But we've already closed that out, Jim. But the good thing is we have all month to get that clarified.
just look at the resolution.
Yeah, we have all month. That's what I'm saying. We have all month to get that clarified. So that's what I wanted to make sure is we have all month to resolve that. So that's why I closed that out.
Excuse me.
No problem. No problem with me. But back to 9. So A, discussion and reports from the staff members. We need an update and feedback regarding the digital agenda packet by you, Paige, and by Samantha.
Yes, so this would have been the first month where we went paperless with the digital agenda packets because there was as you can tell, a lot of paper being used for preparation of meetings such as this due to a issue regarding the board president's email address being attempted to be hacked every 10 seconds last Friday. His email address has been temporarily shut down, and so we were unable to send out the agenda packets digitally. And so this month they have been provided physically for y'all. My goal next month is to not only send them out digitally, but to also have them, the public portions available online for the citizens who are attending, so they can be better informed about what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah, Jason got kind of stuck in the middle because I was going back and forth with Derek and we were quickly changing how things were going to be approached. So apologies for that.
They should have my phone number. The right way.
Yes.
IDRT.
Okay, so we met with Dr. Sam Brody and a member of their contracting team at A&M. They are putting together the contract for the board to approve. There is some unfortunate news to that, but because there are apparently soft costs for overhead from the university, the number that was given to you is approximately 30% higher. And that is the number that will be on the contract that is before you. My goal is for February agenda.
No questions on that. So what happened is, and we're gonna have to talk about this, guys, when it comes up next month, is there were soft costs associated that wasn't presented to the board. So we've held up on this to put it on the agenda until we can get the contract that identifies the soft cost. Honestly, we can have Paige negotiate those costs and see what we can do, because ultimately it's being up to the board to fund the first study that was presented to us by Nick at the December, was it December or November meeting? December meeting that people saw here. So that's what's coming, but we want to make sure the numbers are accurate for presentation to the board.
Simple.
Order of magnitude, what is the cost?
Yeah, this is something they deal with pretty standard, but
What was the cost? What was the initial cost of that study? You had all that?
30% on, was it 260?
Approximately 268, I believe, $268,000.
So it's significant.
If we look back at their proposal, there's a sneaky little asterisk, which as an attorney, I very much dislike. And at the bottom, the little asterisk says, does not include indirect costs. On our meeting that Samantha and I sat in with them, these indirect costs are variable depending on the type of institution that they work with. Because we are a public entity, their standard is 30%. I'm going to work with them on that and press them, because I believe that that's honestly something that should have been told up front.
I will say they did seem open to perhaps down the road working with us on a grant for one of the other upcoming studies. Like potentially we could partner on a grant application, so we may be able to make up some of the difference, down the road.
So this is the mapping for the public, the mapping and the identification of silting, the core samples.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the things actually we talked to the Army Corps of Engineers about in our meeting with them back about 7 months ago during the first of the summer. And actually the second part of the study that we'll have to see when we get these soft fees kind of under control. So we know what we're looking at. But the second part that we haven't had an estimate for
Right.
is the part for the gates and the pumps and the lowering of the water levels in Clear Lake to increase conveyance here in this part of the country, which is another topic that we talked to the commissioners today. But that's another study that we have coming up that is scoped. We don't have a cost for, but once again, we want to get these soft costs under control.
We're aiming for the next agenda to have the next presentation. It should be on the gates.
Yeah.
But it was my understanding, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but it's my understanding that the sedimentation was one piece of the silting study, but there was also a hydrodynamic study that would come after that. Is that what you understood?
The sediment study is just going to identify if there's been excessive sediment, settling, a 30, 40, 50 year period, right? They're going to core it. They're going to look at the age.
Like the impacts on the floodplain, and that would take H&H.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. If they removed and created this volume in there, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So some of their 3D mapping.
Yeah, let's just see let's see the soft cost update and see if we can negotiate that down. I think we can. So, okay, hazard mitigation, we already heard about that, Samantha, correct? update?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Hazard mitigation update, yeah.
Barrel recovery and the FEMA. Samantha.
Okay, so we have a meeting tomorrow with FEMA. A lot of these spreads, 10 a.m. Yeah, it got moved.
I remember.
Lisa Williams was under the weather, so we rescheduled it. But I'm almost done filling out all of the tickets for the debris. But we're looking at potentially, as long as they don't have problems with what we're submitting, somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million in recovery funds. That includes timesheets, hourly rates for equipment. What else? Like debris tickets, and then we had 4 repair projects. I worked with Joseph to get information on those and coordinates.
So we'll report back after we meet with them all, but it looks pretty favorable. This is one of the things where Samantha is already paying off in the fact that reaching out, you have to ask for money to get it. So, and the Corps gave some good advice and the FEMA gave some good advice. So we'll know more. We'll report that back in the February meeting, but I'm excited to possibly claw back several $100,000, if not more, to put into the district to utilize with citizens. So that's good work. So we'll see tomorrow. Grant updates, Samantha.
So the plan, there are a lot of grant opportunities out right now. A lot of them, the deadlines are March or April. Our plan is to go after, we've heard from at least one citizen wanting to participate in an elevation project that has a very strong chance of receiving an award. If there's anybody else in the community that is interested in having their structure flood-proof, or elevated, or even a buyout, please contact the district and get a hold of Paige or myself. We would love to help you. So we have, that's the first project we're going after. Then secondly, we're looking at doing a master drainage plan that would be district specific. Within that, it would look at prioritizing land acquisition properties, and we would base that on what properties would result in the best flood reduction, or the most flood reduction. But we would also look at what properties would work best for potentially for restoration or wetland projects. And then so we're working with regional partners to do the big holistic approach. But so this drainage plan would really be for looking and identifying projects that, even though they may not cost a lot, that they're low to mid-range costs, that they would make a difference. So we would be really working to identify benefits, not just for flood reduction, but if there are social benefits or environmental benefits, trying to build that in to see which ones we'd really be getting the biggest bang for our buck. And then lastly, this one's kind of a wish list. There are a couple of residents that have concerns on the embankment that's by Timber Creek. Potentially, we think that we might be able to get a project there funded by looking at it as a fish pass or reconnecting the channel to have water quality and movement through there. So some of these grant opportunities, I would love to chase them, but I think with the new federal transition with the president, some of these fish pass opportunities may not be in there in the future, but this one's bottom of the list.
We can work on getting the money tomorrow from FEMA for reimbursement to the district for barrel stuff. That'll be huge. That gives us house money to play for. Gives us house money to really go after some stuff. A lot of house money.
Yeah.
That'd be big.
Yeah. Before we move on, President, if I may, the reason that we've identified estimated dates the applications will be ready for board approval is because there are so many opportunities for grants, but with the amount of work that goes into them, we're really focusing our energy on completing one task at a time, so we make sure we get deliverables to the table. And if y'all have any suggestions or ideas or comments on which ones you'd like to reprioritize as they come up, please let us know, and we can always reevaluate those dates and push them around. So we're making sure we get projects to the board for approval, so we can get them to the federal government, to the state government, whoever has the grants.
Oh, one last thing, the elevation buyout floodproofing. We're hoping to make that an annual program. Every year there are grants that come out that can help with that type of project. So As we move forward, that will be an ongoing thing. And the timeline, just out for people that are interested in doing that is a long process. You're looking at 2 to 3 years probably to have your home elevated.
Yeah, on
And
that-
that's because it's coming from, a large part of it's federal funds.
That's something that Scott and I have talked about for years here as we, developed our theory of stuff. And there's no doubt conveyance and mitigation, getting water right here is important, but there are thousands of structures in the bullseye zone that, my house is no different. I'll be honest with you. I'm the drainage district president. My house is 9 feet off the deck down in the back of Poly Ranch. It's no secret. There's a reason for it. Scott and I identified thousands of structures that could benefit from an elevation grant program. And that's one thing we have really been stickers on that I want you to pursue, because I would love to have millions of dollars that we can help people elevate structures and get out of harm's way, at least during flooding that, is somewhat reasonable. I don't know if we can define reasonable, but getting people up out of harm's way in conjunction with working with our partners around here for conveyance and mitigation at the lower water level. That's huge. It's a two-part deal. So that's something that Scott shared and has championed for a long time. And I appreciate that. So thank you, Samantha, for doing that. I just wanted to make sure that is an important thing to Scott. It's important to me to get people up when we can, but it's expensive. So punt the money, Samantha. Audit update from Kathy Grace.
Yes, the audit began at the 1st of January, and it's very time consuming, but we were plugging along, and I've got about 70% of the audit turned in through the auditor. And our auditors are Whitney Penn. That's all.
When do we anticipate having that audit update provided by Whitney Penn? What meeting, when will that occur, Kathy?
When will the audit?
Mm-hmm. The presentation by them, when will that occur?
Probably March.
Okay. Okay, elevation and floodproofing products. Samantha, we talked about that already, but you can talk about that and just roll through, and y'all can roll through H&I, please.
I think I'm going to touch base. It just, again, if you are interested in having your home elevated or flood-proofed and you've flooded before, please reach out. We'd like to help you.
Okay, and then item H, I believe I kind of touched on that earlier. Even simple little things like getting some super glue and some new veneer in for that. We will be doing small repairs like that, but also big security repairs like the doors out back, as well as we are getting badges for the front access. So we'll no longer be using key access for that, which will be individual to the employee and to the board member to better improve our security and better tracking if it's coming in and out of our buildings. And then item I, this should be done on a yearly basis. My understanding, it hasn't been done in over a decade. Disposition of surplus equipment and property. So we've identified, and this is coming up on the February agenda, identified property including vehicles, tractors, and other goods that still have value that we'll be working with an auctioneer to post publicly, and so that we can dispose of that surplus equipment.
Any questions on anything in this area before we move on? All right, thank you. Number 10, a little bit of a continuation, ongoing project updates. On the Friends with Regional Stormwater Detention Basin is near and dear to all of our hearts, especially Mr. Gibson, and the Castlewood Detention Basin. Who's going to give that update?
Castlewood?
Start with Friendswood.
Start with Friendswood. Who's going to
Friendswood? So Jim
likes sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it.
go for it?
Thank you.
We have been, and he'll help me if I forget anything. We've been worried about whether or not the project would be complete enough to secure the Galveston County funds, which if we didn't reach a certain milestone, we would have lost the 1st of January. But they did achieve that amount of construction. So those funds are firm now. So we did not lose them. They added some more land to the rough grading project, as they call it, to the tune of about $1 million. And combined with that addition plus existing, they say that they're about 57% complete. And we'll have another $1 meeting with them Thursday week to get more updates. But they're working and things look like they're moving along well. They still don't have a resolution from Corps of Engineers about wetlands.
Yeah.
So they're kind of in the same pickle we're in on the Forest Friends.
That could have a huge impact on the size of that ultimate detention basin size, right? If there's, kind of the same situation, like you said, same situation we're in with force.
I don't know what the actual footprint area is gonna be of the basin. I'll find that out. But they're working with 132 acres. But
Yeah, it's my understanding that they're planning to, well, they can't, there's one area that they can't touch. But some of the areas that they have identified as wetlands, even if it does come back that they're jurisdictional wetlands, we're gonna try to work at having, buying credits from a wetland mitigation bank so that we can maximize the size of that program. And the only other thing I was gonna add on is that, the contractor for the engineering design for the full project, not the rough grading, but the full project was just selected at Commissioner's Court. I believe it's Gage Engineering, who's also doing the master drainage plan for the city of Fresno.
They're the grant coordinator or grant manager.
Oh.
Okay, who's gonna, Councilwood, Scott?
So it's my understanding that there's just some really fine grading going on and some, and then the seeding for the grass that's left on that. So I'll need to get with Joseph for to get the exact details and maybe visit with Dwight with DC.
Then we'll talk.
I think it's my understanding they're pretty close to being done. If we can get dry weather for like a month, they can finish.
All right, thank y'all. Number 11, you kind of rolling into anything you want to talk about district engineering report, Scott?
Very exciting month. Lots of firsts for me, but everything's going well. We've got some plans in for review. Got a big drainage impact analysis in for review, and that should be completed hopefully by the end of this month. And we're just rolling along, working on updating the design criteria manual for the requirements the district approved last month, along with updating the preliminary signature block for Paige Samantha, one of them to be able to sign as well.
Have we got any new commercial development plans yet with what we changed in the commercial side where we got more, just to let y'all know, y'all were here for that when we passed an 11-step process to actually make it easier for commercial development for the tax base for the people in the city of Friendswood on parcels 20 acres or less in size, which, we can, Jason's already got on me about this, but we can talk about, when it edges above or whatever, and when they come to us. But anyway, have we had any submittals?
So we hadn't had any formal submittals. There's been some talks with with Dunaway engineers. And Hill, you're probably familiar with this one out here by the road that goes to PSC gun range. There's a developer looking at that site. It's kind of an awkward layout. It's a difficult situation, but that developable area is less than 20 acres. So we've talked about the items that were approved, so that they're taking that into consideration.
So what Scott and I did is we took a lot of the regulations from a lot of the different districts and different entities in an area, and we went through them one by one. And then I remember the day we had like an hour and 15-minute long phone call where we went through it and then met and finalized it before presenting to the board. But it does allow some design criteria manuals, some significant changes we made with some caveats, holding back a little more water, but gave them some straight wall type designs on two sides, some sloping with some stability requirements on the 301s. I think there were excellent changes, and I want to commend our district engineer for helping me identify those changes, going to other water districts and cities and looking at that and making it easier for people in Friendswood without compromising any integrity in our flooding situation, actually doing better, to be honest with you, by giving them a little ease of how they withhold their water. So thank you for that. That was important. All right, number 12, city council reports.
Happy New Year, board, staff, citizens all. I just want to briefly mention, the Clear Creek Watershed Steering Committee had their meeting in December and it was well attended. I want to thank Samantha and Jim for showing up, and Jason, your email gonna be there. Don't worry next time, so that'll be there. And at our last council meeting, we were presented with the January 2025 drainage update. If you want to pull that up, Scott, and good thing I've got Hill here with me, so if I mess up, he can back me up. And Samantha, a lot of this you'll remember from old days going by. Things are finally moving, but did you find it?
I had to restart.
I saw it. Yeah, you had it up there before.
Item 12. Right there. They should have been named like item 6, item 7, item 8. How did they name?
It'll say January 2025.
I don't think I had anything in there that was other than the.
It froze on me for some reason earlier.
You want my?
Yeah.
He's carrying around a freaking stick drive. Man, that's, I don't know about that.
Hey, always prepared.
Yeah.
Always prepared. Dang it in there.
See that, Brent? Do you carry one of those with you? Do you have one in your pocket?
I don't. I didn't know he had one either.
There you go. January 2025 drainage update. You can scroll down.
Okay.
And this is the Clear Creek utility rack location. My daughter actually was upset with me. She goes, y'all just taking away all the fun for us kids. We used to swing off of that. Well, I'm sorry, but
It's still
this, this is funded by Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery from Hurricane Harvey. It's located Polly Ranch Subdivision, Dave Brown Memorial Park, Terabella Subdivision, across Clear Creek, south of Black Hawk wastewater treatment plant. The bids have been received and evaluated, and construction will begin 2025. So February, that's going to finally get going, and we'll get that taken care of. I mean, there was a lot of environmental stuff that had to be.
It's next month.
And the deep flood control project. Now, this is separate and apart from what GCCD is also doing over in that area. And there we received only one bid, so we're putting that back out for rebid in accordance with federal procurement guidelines, and submittals are due January the 16th, 2025. And again, this is separate and apart from what GCCDD is doing. And this is funded again by CDBG disaster recovery grant funds. So that's about $2,959,000 worth of work that's going to be done. These three detention basins along Cowards Creek, y'all are all aware of. And this is just another good example of how the city of Friendswood and GCCDD have worked together in the past. This is city-owned land, and this is work done by GCCDD. And this is nearly complete. I think they have to have some hydromulching done. And I saw over there when I was driving to council meeting, they were doing some concrete work on a little overpass right there. So I'm really thrilled about this just about being completed. And if we move along, the interlocal agreement with some of the Deepwood properties, that's the city of Friendswood homes. We know that GCD has asked for a conveyance on this. But for some specific reasons dealing with the federal government and the funds that we use to have those, to get those properties purchased, we just don't feel comfortable with conveying that. The city is and has proposed a license agreement with GCDD, and we're hoping that that might be able to work out. We've worked those out in the past, and as far as I'm concerned, with the remaining time that I have left on the board, and as your liaison, I want to foster and facilitate good relations with the board. We've always had really good relations for the last 28 years. And when I spoke with Paige and Rusty and Jason, I told them that was a real high priority of mine. And I would like to see us continue to work together. No animosity. Let's just get some work done for the citizens of Friendswood. The Friendswood City Center detention pond, this is over on the Harris County side. There's 2 detention ponds to provide mitigation for the Whitcomb property flood control project. And this is at the FM 528 Black Hawk Boulevard within Turf 1. And the initial excavation, mainly a pond one, which is approximately 35 acres, has been completed. I mean, last update that I got on it's about 30 to 35 feet deep. It's going to be a wet pond, and there's been about 850,000 cubic yards excavated, and they're starting now a clay liner for that's required for impervious situations where it can't leach or leak. And that will facilitate mitigation for the next slide, which is the Whitcomb Terracing Stormwater Detention Basin along the creek bed, which is in line. And this is a partnership between the City of Friendswood and Harris County Flood Control District. And you all might remember that we got $10 million from the state on this. I believe Greg Bonham was a big help with appropriating those funds to Harris County Flood Control District. So far, the status is that Harris County Flood Control District has selected its consultant for preliminary engineering. So the PER is out and underway. Harris County Commissioners Court will approve engineering contract this January. So that's moving along. The mitigation for the project, again, is provided for with the Friendswood City detention ponds that I mentioned just prior. And I told you how much excavation has been done over there. Harris County Flood Control District will schedule public engagement meetings in the near future so people will be able to express their concerns in regards to the terracing project. And I think the terracing project is going to go a long way in helping a lot of people over in that lower part of the Clear Creek watershed as we know it. Funding again, flood control bonds from the city, 10 million allocated from TWDB and to Harris County Flood Control District. I saw that you all mentioned in y'all's agenda this evening a master drainage plan. We are well on our way with the comprehensive master drainage plan. It's comprehensive urban riverine flood mitigation plan that will identify and prioritize projects, which I know y'all want to do to provide benefits to our residents and hopefully keep people out of water instead of getting flooded. Contracts for consultants are to be awarded tonight, and we did award that contract to Gage Engineering. The kickoff meeting will be held ASAP. Hill, I don't know if y'all already had it. Anticipated 17 months timeline for this comprehensive plan. And again, the monies that we are spending on that, I'm sure that we're going to be sharing that with you all. That could really be inculcated with y'all's master drainage plan district-wide. I think it's going to help areas that have been developed prior to 1995, which in our most recent floods and that sort of thing have not been affected as much as those that have been developed after 1995, more stringent building codes and that sort of thing. The public engagement meeting will be announced when they're scheduled. This funding will be hazard mitigated grant and city bond funds. And that's a quick view of what we got at the council meeting.
Good.
Appreciate it.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Have y'all talked any about the Black Hawk sewer plant project?
Yes, we've had some stuff going on in the background. That's in the back of our mind. If we are, for some reason, we don't have the mitigation that we need for the terracing at Whitcomb, we're keeping in mind the possibility of using part of that Black Hawk property to help mitigate that. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we can come back a little ways down the road and do exactly what we're doing at Whitcomb on that property as well. The only thing that the biggest holdup on that project right now would be funding, but we've got everything falling into part you see what happened with the 1959 project, where initially we're looking at a $32 million project, and right now we're sitting at a $20 million project. That could be funds that Flood Control District would be open to shifting for somewhere else on the Clear Creek
Well, Hill, I don't want to interrupt you, but the reason I think Jim's bringing in, the reason we brought up the county commissioners today is because the two projects in totality of Whitcomb and Blackhawk show the best reduction in water surface elevation along an area of 10 to 12 inches. I mean, it's going to vary, but I'm telling you that those projects in combination, and that's, we talked about the synergy of projects going off, studying synergies of projects like we talked about with the commissioners this morning, which I'll report on later, but the synergy of those two projects in combination is much greater than just doing one without the other. So that's important. I mean, if you are going to have to use part of the Blackhawk, I still want to go for the full effect in the project at Blackhawk. And Samantha is the one who is our big procurement. But anyway, that's important. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah, and of course, you guys are aware of the efforts of Samantha with the Texas Water Development Board. So I guess.
Yeah, we put in the grant application for engineering design at Blackhawk, and they still have not they were supposed to have answers in November, but they're still determining who's going to be selected to put in a complete application. So I'm crossing my fingers. I was really able to show benefits to the Forest Bend subdivision area when I put the application together. So we'll just have to see. We should know soon.
Citizens of Friendswood on video, y'all need to get on with your state and federal people on this Blackhawk stuff, because I can tell you that would be a big project in conjunction with Whitcomb. Those types of projects are big. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Hill.
Is there any way we can release some of the funds for 1959 early to get the engineering study going if the grant really doesn't work?
I think we need to have a little bit more in-depth discussion on that to see if that's a possibility. So,
Because I agree with Rusty, that's a crowning jewel as far as I've seen on projects.
So, like you mentioned, that it is a very attractive between the two projects, a very attractive option. I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, it is a very okay. I remember now. It's a very attractive project, and Samantha's heard this before, but the guys that did the modeling for the Clear Creek and Dickinson Bayou watershed, they did a benefit cost analysis for the projects that they presented as part of that. And then they looked at the combination of these two projects, and they were far above and beyond what anything else that they had done on their study outside of the 1959 project. So.
You know, some of the old data that I've got showed, and I don't know how accurate it was, there would be something like 320 or 30 acre feet of detention provided by the Whitcomb project alone. And I don't know that by itself is going to give you the savings that you're really looking for. I think that seems to me that you need more than 300 and some odd acre feet of storage to get the amount of detention you'd need to lower water that much.
So that's why we have a H&H team in place now. That's going to be something that will be looked at through the preliminary engineering phase.
That's good. Yeah. I'd like to see a good number come out for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Hill.
Yes.
Lake City, Matt.
Just to keep you guys, or keep the board up to speed on development on the west side, Westland Ranch. I saw the plat approved for Magnolia Bayou today. That effort is almost done. Only pending items are some text dot issues with the 517, but that's underway and very close to being complete. Also, my folks conducted a inspection walkthrough of section 6A and 6B today, which is adjacent to Magnolia Bayou. So that section should be coming online shortly. I'm sure a punch list was generated today. I'll take a look at that tomorrow. And then also on the north half of the Westland Ranch development, section 10 is getting rolling this month. So that's just getting started. That'll be the next section that comes online for the north portion of Westland Ranch. And then, I always keep you guys apprised of the legacy development. They've got a number of projects underway right now. They've got of course, the pond work going. And then they've also got a couple roadways in the form of Legacy Boulevard, Legacy Drive and West Boulevard, both under construction right now. And then sections 1 and 2 are under construction right now. Their utilities are installed and they'll shortly be moving towards pavement in those sections. So that development is moving forward aggressively, and they've indicated to us that further sections and plan sets will be coming our way quickly. So I think that's all I've got for you guys this week, unless you've got any questions or concerns for me.
I want to thank you and Chris for coming out and meeting with us. They met with us a couple of weeks back about some issues we're having that we actually tabled tonight. So I look forward to hearing those solutions and what y'all come up with. Thanks for calling me last week. Sorry I didn't answer your phone call, but I got your message and I asked Scott to call you back. So I think you did, Scott. So I sent him your whole message. I punished him with your whole message. Because I was in a time crunch, so I punished him with your whole message.
No, we appreciate the open door.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys meeting with us. So
It was good. Any questions for Matt?
I'd like to thank Matt for staying with us for an hour and a half to talk for 2 minutes.
It's only once a month. I can help.
That's what we said.
Okay. Thank you, Matt, very much. And you're welcome anytime. You know that. Got my cell phone. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
All right, Board of Directors report 14. Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'd like to reserve a time to talk about Joseph after you do your comment.
Sure.
We met with Rusty, I, Paige, Samantha, met with the city on December the 12th to talk about the interlocal agreements. And I think we had a good discussion. When the bottom line result of that meeting was the attorneys need to get together and work through interlocal agreement language. And I think we need to help the attorneys get together. I know with the holidays and everything else, it's been difficult, but I think we need to encourage them to get together. I like what I hear about you lobbying for Gates, Clear Creek. That's good. Glad to see Burl is generating some money potentially. And overall, the grant work's been great. I like what I hear of that. So,
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Mr. Johnson.
I'm all talked out. Thanks for coming.
David's been here with me this morning since about 9 a.m. So we've had a long day of drainage work, which is good. It's good for him.
Yeah, it's good for me.
He needs exercise. Kim?
Happy New Year. We're getting, hitting the ground running. January 6th. Congratulations, Paige. Thank you for taking this on. And it was an eventful December, and it's going to be an even more eventful January here at the district. So I'm looking forward to the changes that are happening and the positive outlook that we have. So thank you. And
Mr. Jones?
I echo Kim's words, and I have none of my own.
Okay, I'll try to wrap it up fast. So we've had a couple of things come up this week. I'll start with the Friendswood City stuff Jim's talking about. So we had a really good meeting with the city, and I echo. Listen, I've known Robert a long time, and I echo he's thinking. There's no doubt there's some contention about things, and there's 2 jurisdictions in this area. There's the city of Friendswood. There's a drainage district, and then there's League City, and there's a drainage district in Western League City. It's like a mom and a dad, and it's equal jurisdiction, or whatever. It's water code, y'all's code. People aren't always going to agree. Engineers, what construction may be, what this may be, what compaction is, what flooding is, and how it's going to impact And I think that was litigated. I want to relitigate this in district court. And they agreed with our position. But however, I want it to be clear when there is, somebody comes to the district, somebody comes to the city, and there's a question, there's some ambiguity about what the rules are, whose jurisdiction it is. It's both of ours. I think it's up to us to make sure that even though it might pass muster with the Consolidated Drainage District and Scott, and he thinks it's going to pass through the board, we're going to direct them to make sure they're talking to the city of Friendswood in totality, making sure that Hill and Mo over there and everybody, Mr. Kabiri, everybody is on freaking par, and everybody is, because we're just half the equation. We're going to send them that way. And we would appreciate the same deference. And I think we got ourselves in a jam here, and it's going to get worked out eventually, but it's gotten sticky, and that's fine. But I'm very confident that my fellow board members in this district are doing good work for the citizens of the city per the oath that we took. I'm up for election in May of 2026, so if they don't think so, they can vote me out. But I'm pretty confident that I'm pretty passionate about the people in this area and being safe from flooding and drainage as much as we can do. And this board and this team is going to do a really good job working at a high level, and we're going to elevate our level to make sure that is the case. But I promise you, we will work with the city as an equal partner, and I stress the word equal partner, to further and benefit the citizens. And y'all have my word on that. My door is open. We always conduct ourselves with respect and decorum, and we did the other day down at the courthouse hill. Scott and I had a real good conversation outside the courtroom. And I think the first thing was, as good Christian men, we need to make sure we are dedicated to have a really good relationship with the city of Friendswood. That was the first thing that was said from our mouths when we got out of that courtroom. And we mean it 100%. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. The Baker Road stuff, I got a call from Councilman Griffon about the Baker Road and about what is going on. As people, citizens may or may not know, we own Baker Road and that land there, ag barn, as we always have, and going back towards the south there and the southwest. Anyway, there was some confusion about what we were doing with Baker Road, and I will assure the citizens that it's open to residents, it's open to all emergency services, all city personnel for water services, any emergency calls. What it's not open to is construction activities. That means, dump trucks loaded with dirt. And I'm sure, like I said, we're going to work through this and we'll get this all square. But as far as open for residents, kids, ag barn people, anything else, cops, city trucks, doing services, A-OK. We put that on the webpage within 10 minutes in our policy within Councilman Griffon calls. Within 10 minutes, I came in here and page dropped what we were doing, and we got that clarified. And we sent it to Councilman Griffon, Councilman Hanks, and we sent it to the attorney Horner at the city. So thank you, Paige, for that. We had a meeting this morning with the county commissioners, and man, I'm sorry, I didn't take a picture. I'll use take a picture and put a blog about it, but we were rolling pretty fast this morning. Robin came in, Robin Armstrong and Hank Doogie. And I will say for the city and for us up here, they seem pretty dedicated and open, Hill and Robert and us, for projects, for everything we have going. They asked us on their bonding initiative what they could do to help us and how they could get money. We talked a little about the feds, about a meeting with the Army Corps, the Harris County Flood Control, what we were aiming to do at a bigger picture. They're on board. So I always have my fingers crossed that we can have a consolidated effort, no pun intended, to move things forward that really are consequential to help people around here. The IDRT studies, the two that we're talking about, the one that's already been presented and the one that's coming up, are very important. The county commissioners were very interested in those. Samantha might be working retroactively as I bring it to the board on funding for those things. But the main study about the modeling of the samples of the sedimentation that the Corps specifically asked us about, and the H&H study is up front with Nick. But the further modeling of the reducement of and the conveyance work and the gates and lowering the level of Clear Lake, which I think is paramount to inland flooding and rain events and surge events. Remember, they've only studied this through water through surge events. They really haven't studied those gates for rain and inland flooding events. When that study gets funded, if we can work it out, I think will be huge and will benefit not just city of Friendswood, Galveston County, Northern Galveston County, but it will benefit Brazoria, Harris, even all the way up to Fort Bend where Clear Creek originates, because it's all coming this way. So that's a big thing, and we'll have more on that. They were excited about the barge. We have to get that ordered. There's a big 8 to 10 month time to get that because of the saw and the grappling and the construction, the trailer. So Scott and Paige are on that. That's really all I have. You're welcome to ask me questions. Come by the house, meet me up at the district, and I will go over everything I have to say. The last thing I want to say, and I'll give my time back to Mr. Gibson for this, is Joseph Anderson is retiring. He has been instrumental. Harold Whitaker hired him and a long time ago. And Joseph told me today, he said, one of the things he said was, they didn't hire me because of my knowledge. They hired me because of my passion, and they believed in me and what I stood for, my work ethic and my dedication to the district. So, and he told me to keep hiring like that. And in his words is, if you'll hire people that have that same drive and dedication, you'll have a bad A district. That was his exact words. He kind of said that a little bit teared up today. I mean, Joseph's gone through a lot this year. His dad passed away. He had a terrible accident with his nephew, with his wife's sister passed away in a motorcycle accident. He was young, a student at U of H. And Joseph's done a lot of good work here. So I'm super proud of him. He's a wealth of knowledge. He is a huge loss to the drainage and flooding community here. I wish him nothing but the best, and God bless him and his family. And I hope everything heals up of what's bothering him, what he's been through this year. And I'll let Mr. Gibson finish up.
His last day will be the 16th. And I just want to put on record that I really appreciated working with Joseph. He's a stand-up guy. And thank you, Joseph. Just
Thanks, Sean. And I asked him if he wanted to stay today, and he said he wanted to go home. Respect that. But anyway, that's it. That concludes the meeting. Thank you all for sitting through it. I appreciate it very much. And we're going to retire to a quick executive session. I'm sorry. The board will retire to executive session, close meeting in order to seek the advice of attorney about pending or contemplated litigation, settlement offers, any matter which district, Texas district conduct. 551.071.